Welcome to Scripted by Machines, the series where artificial intelligence meets cinematic showdowns, and you, the viewers, call the shots. Today, we're launching another electrifying rendition of viewer-recommended battles. Each episode, we bring to life a clash of titans as suggested by you, our creative and curious audience. In our premiere battle, we delve deep into the chilling realms of classic horror. By popular demand, we present a face-off that stirs the darkest corners of the imagination. Today's epic confrontation pits the shape-shifting terror from the Antarctic, the Thing, against the relentless, all-consuming mass, the Blob. Two formidable forces of nature, each with its own horrifying capabilities, locked in a battle for supremacy. The suspense begins now. Nestled in the heart of the Arctic's unforgiving wilderness lies a marvel of modern science and secrecy. Welcome to the Omega Research Facility, a beacon of human ingenuity and perhaps, hubris. Here, beneath the eternal ice and isolated from the world, top scientists study the universe's most enigmatic entities. This high-security compound is strategically positioned to blend into the harsh Arctic environment. Most of its sprawling complex is buried beneath the surface, where cutting-edge labs and containment units house objects and beings not of this earth. The few visible buildings are but the tip of the iceberg, masking the true extent of what lies below. Temperature-controlled and heavily guarded, each section of this facility is designed to contain the unknown, providing the perfect conditions for study while minimizing the risk of escape or contamination. It's here that the boundary between science fiction and science fact blurs, as researchers push the limits of human knowledge and safety. As we venture deeper into the heart of Omega, brace yourselves for a story of curiosity and caution, where the quest for knowledge could unleash forces that defy all control. Inside the Omega facility, the atmosphere shifts starkly. Here, the air is not only cold but charged with a sterile, almost oppressive cleanliness. Every surface, every instrument is meticulously maintained to ensure no external contaminants breach the citadel of science. This is more than just a research facility, it's a self-contained microcosm. Here, a small community of dedicated professionals lives and works, cut off from the outside world by necessity and design. Scientists, security teams, and support staff form a unique society bound by a common mission, and an unspoken tension. Life here is governed by routine and rigor. Meals, work shifts, and even leisure activities are scheduled with military precision. Despite the camaraderie, the weight of their work looms large, a constant reminder that their actions could have implications far beyond these icy walls. Isolation here does not just mean physical separation from the world. It is also psychological, an ever-present awareness that each decision, each experiment, carries risks unknown. The tight-knit community supports each other, finding solace in shared purpose and occasional moments of lightheartedness amidst the gravity of their tasks. At the helm of Omega is Dr. Elena Vostok, a visionary in the field of astrobiology. Dr. Vostok left her prestigious university post to lead Omega, driven by a personal quest to prove that life exists beyond Earth. Her leadership is both respected and feared, as she demands excellence and secrecy in equal measure. Next in command is Dr. Marcus Flynn, the lead scientist for extraterrestrial biology. A genius with a rebellious streak, Dr. Flynn's theories once sidelined him from mainstream science. At Omega, he finds the freedom to explore his radical ideas, often pushing the boundaries of safety and ethics. Security at Omega is under the watchful eye of Commander Sarah Jo. A former military officer with top-secret clearance, her transition to civilian security was marked by her interest in protecting global security from unknown extraterrestrial threats. Commander Jo runs a tight ship, ensuring that the facility's secrets remain within its walls. Supporting these leaders is a diverse team, each member handpicked for their unique skills and unwavering discretion. This includes Jamal Reed, the chief technician, whose expertise in containment technologies keeps the facility's volatile specimens under control. And not to forget, Dr. Alice Monroe, a psychologist specializing in isolation and high-stress environments. Her role is crucial in maintaining the mental well-being of the staff, helping them cope with the extraordinary pressures of their work. Together, these individuals not only make up the backbone of Omega but also face the unimaginable challenges of their roles head-on. As they confront the unknown entities housed within this facility, their stories of courage, curiosity, and sometimes, conflict, weave the human tapestry in this isolated world. As night falls over the Arctic and the cold deepens outside, inside Omega, a different kind of chill is setting in. The arrival of the new specimen has sparked a mix of excitement and unease, a reminder that in this remote outpost, humanity's quest for knowledge is constantly on the edge of the abyss.
This is unlike anything we've encountered before. Its cellular structure isn't just alien, it's almost adaptive in ways that defy our understanding of biology.
Marcus, do you think this could be the proof we've been looking for, that life exists beyond our solar system?
Whatever it is, let's make sure it stays contained. The last thing we need is an unknown entity playing havoc in the facility.
Everyone, let's keep a level head. Remember, understanding this specimen could advance our knowledge significantly, but it also puts a great deal of responsibility on our shoulders.
Absolutely, Alice. We proceed with caution. Eleanor, I suggest setting up a dedicated quarantine zone for further study. This specimen isn't just another rock from space, it's a window into the universe.
Agreed. Jamal, prepare the quarantine area immediately. Marcus, keep your analyzers strictly to what's observable. No theories beyond what we can prove.
Omega's sophisticated monitoring systems, designed to detect any and all anomalies, spring to life. A sudden blaze tears through the heavens. A meteorite, ablaze with a fiery tail, descends with violent urgency, its destination alarmingly close to the Omega facility. Dr. Vostok, ever the decisive leader, alongside Commander Zhou, quickly organizes an expedition team. Their mission is clear: locate the meteorite, secure the site, and assess any potential extraterrestrial material for containment and study. The team, led by Dr. Marcus Flynn, is a mix of scientists and security personnel. As they prepare, the weight of what they might discover looms large. Each member knows that this could be a career-defining moment, or a catastrophic encounter. Upon reaching the site, the harsh Arctic wind howls around them, but it's the sight before their eyes that takes their breath away. The meteorite, embedded in the ice, glows ominously, its exterior still smoldering from the fiery descent. Dr. Flynn, with a mix of trepidation and excitement, signals the team to proceed with caution. As they chip away at the icy encasement, a strange, gelatinous substance begins to reveal itself, unlike anything documented in their extensive training. Under the eerie glow of their headlamps, the team stands transfixed as the substance within the meteorite emerges. This gelatinous material, shimmering with an otherworldly sheen, captivates and unnerves them. With a scientist's curiosity, Dr. Flynn carefully extracts a sample of the mysterious blob. The initial analysis, performed right at the site with portable devices, reveals it to be an organic compound, alive and teeming with unknown potential. The discovery sends a wave of excitement through the team. Back at the facility, news of this potential scientific breakthrough spreads like wildfire. Researchers speculate about the origins and properties of the blob, imagining the possibilities it holds for biology, medicine, even technology. The facility springs into action, converting one of the high-security labs into a containment zone. This zone is equipped with the latest in biohazard containment technology, designed to adapt to and manage any unforeseen properties the blob might exhibit. As the blob is transported to its new home within the Omega facility, Dr. Vostok oversees every step, ensuring that the containment protocols meet her stringent standards. The excitement is palpable, but so is the tension, as the implications of handling such an unpredictable entity begin to dawn on everyone involved. With the precious and perilous cargo in tow, the expedition team makes a cautious journey back to the Omega facility. The roads, treacherous and unforgiving, mirror the very nature of their discovery. The containment unit, a marvel of engineering designed for the most unpredictable biological hazards, is put to the test. Its interior, a microenvironment tailored to keep the blob stable, adjusts automatically to its biosignals, ensuring that it remains inert during transport. As they arrive, Commander Zhou coordinates with her team for a seamless transfer. Every protocol is meticulously followed, the stakes too high for any margin of error. The facility is on lockdown, with only essential personnel involved in the operation. Inside, the corridors clear and the doors seal automatically behind them. The air is tense with anticipation and caution as the team navigates the labyrinthine passageways to the new high-security lab, their path marked by layers of security measures. The high-security lab, a fortress within a fortress, is prepared to become the new home for the blob. Here, surrounded by state-of-the-art monitoring equipment and emergency containment measures, it will be studied and observed. As the containment unit syncs with the lab systems, the first detailed scans of the blob commence. What was once an alien visitor encased in ice is now a subject of profound scientific interest, secured within Omega's most fortified confines. Under the watchful eyes of Omega's finest, the blob remains an enigma, its true capabilities hidden beneath a pulsating surface. As curiosity builds, so does the dread of the unknown, each beat hinting at the potential for wonder or disaster. Within the secure confines of the high-security lab, Omega's top scientists commence their preliminary studies of the blob. Under the strictest quarantine protocols, no risk is taken lightly, every procedure meticulously documented and monitored. Dr. Flynn, leading the research, is both cautious and captivated. The initial observations are startling. The blob, seemingly inert at first, begins to exhibit signs of responsiveness. It moves, ever so slightly, contracting and expanding in reaction to changes in light and temperature. Tests escalate as the team introduces different stimuli, light, sound, even electrical pulses. Each response from the blob is recorded, the data streaming in real time to the facility's mainframe. It's clear the blob is far more than a simple organic mass, it's an active, reactive entity. Behind closed doors, Dr. Vostok and her team analyze the burgeoning data. The movements of the blob suggest a complex internal structure capable of sophisticated reactions, hinting at a possible nervous system, or something entirely unknown to terrestrial science. Chemical tests further reveal the blob's astonishing adaptability. It absorbs substances, integrating them seamlessly into its matrix. Its ability to modify its composition suggests advanced survival mechanisms, perhaps honed in the harshness of space. The initial excitement gives way to a creeping unease. What else might the blob be capable of? The team stands on the precipice of groundbreaking scientific discovery, yet the shadow of the unknown looms large, a reminder that with great knowledge comes great risk.
We've made some incredible observations today, but this thing is like nothing we've ever seen. I think we're all hitting our limits.
Yes, let's call it a day. We need fresh eyes and clear minds. What the blob is capable of, it's both fascinating and unnerving.
I'll do a final check on the containment protocols before we head out. We can't be too careful with this one.
And I'll check in on everyone in the morning. The stress levels are off the charts today. Make sure you all get some rest.
Thanks, Alice. A good night's sleep might just make the blob seem a little less daunting in the morning. Let's meet first thing to plan our next steps.
Rest well, team. Tomorrow, we go back into the unknown. Remember, what we do here could change everything. Let's be ready.
As dawn breaks over the remote Arctic horizon, a new day begins at Omega facility, marked by a cautious optimism. The night's tensions have given way to a renewed focus among the team. With the arrival of daylight, there's a palpable shift in the lab's atmosphere as researchers and technicians return, refreshed and ready to tackle the challenges that lay ahead. Dr. Vostok and her team convene early, their faces determined, as they prepare for a day that promises significant advancements in their understanding of the blob. Energized by the potential of their new tools and hypotheses, they set about their tasks with meticulous care, aware that each step could lead to unprecedented scientific breakthroughs. The lab is a flurry of scientific endeavor, as every precaution is taken to ensure the safety and integrity of the study. As the final checks are made, a critical alarm sounds, slicing through the concentrated hum of the lab. The containment protocols, the very barriers meant to protect them, begin to falter. The blob starts to seep through the microfractures forming in its containment unit. Instantly, the facility's lockdown protocols engage. Heavy security doors slam shut throughout Omega, sealing the lab as the breach protocol dictates. The containment unit, now compromised, oozes with the slow, deliberate escape of the blob. Commander Zhou takes command of the situation, her voice cutting across the chaos, directing containment teams to the lab. Her calmness belies the urgency of her orders, as she mobilizes every resource to thwart the creeping escape. As the alarm echoes through the cold, sterile halls of Omega, the reality of their situation sets in. The blob, no longer just a subject of study, has become a palpable threat. The breach of containment has unleashed the blob into a more expansive environment, and it wastes no time asserting its menacing nature. Within the lab, a series of cages housing cloned lab animals for biological studies stand in its path. As the blob makes contact with the first cage, the scene that unfolds is both terrifying and mesmerizing. The creature extends a part of itself, seeping through the bars, enveloping the animals. There is no struggle, no escape, they are absorbed within moments. Each act of absorption seems to invigorate the blob. With every life form it consumes, it grows, not just in size but in activity. Its movements become more deliberate, more aggressive. It's as if with each life taken, a new wave of energy courses through its gelatinous mass. The scientists, while horrified, cannot help but be fascinated. The data collected is unprecedented, showing a direct correlation between the blob's consumption and its vitality. This revelation provides crucial insights but also a stark warning of what could happen if it reaches more populated areas of the facility. Commander Zhou, ever focused on security, debates the next steps with Dr. Flynn. The need for immediate action is clear, but the right course is less so. With traditional containment measures failed, they face a dilemma of increasing complexity and danger. Inside the lab, the containment team confronts a scene of unanticipated horror. The blob, now much larger and pulsating with absorbed energy, tests the limits of the facility's defenses. Each movement it makes is potent, deliberate. The very structure of the containment barriers, designed to withstand extreme conditions, begins to corrode upon contact with the blob. Its size and corrosive nature turn it into an indomitable force, challenging the foundation of Omega's security protocols. With the initial containment measures failing, the facility's automated emergency protocols snap into action. Bulkheads seal off the compromised lab sections, attempting to isolate the blob within a contained environment. However, the rapid response systems, though robust, struggle to keep pace with the spread. The blob exploits every small gap, every minute flaw in the architecture. It's not just breaking through physical barriers, it's testing the very limits of Omega's emergency preparedness. Commander Zhou, facing an unprecedented threat, coordinates a secondary line of defense. Her orders are crisp, clear, yet there's an underlying tension that betrays the gravity of the situation. Backup systems are engaged, additional containment units are brought online, yet doubt lingers. As the blob continues its relentless expansion, consuming and corroding, Omega stands on a precipice. Each moment brings new challenges, each decision carries weighty consequences. As the crisis deepens, the leadership of Omega convenes an emergency meeting. The atmosphere is charged with urgency, every second counts as the blob continues its relentless expansion. Dr. Vostok, with a commanding presence, outlines the gravity of the situation. Her voice is firm, cutting through the murmured anxieties.
We face an unprecedented threat, one that challenges our very ability to contain and understand. Our response must be decisive, coordinated, and immediate.
Commander Zhou, tasked with the physical safety of the facility, coordinates the evacuation of non-essential personnel. With precision and clarity, she directs her team to secure critical areas and safeguard the paths to extraction points, ensuring that the evacuation is as orderly as possible under the circumstances. The halls of Omega resonate with the sounds of controlled chaos. Security teams move efficiently, their actions a testament to rigorous training and preparedness. Despite the fear, there's a systematic flow to their movements, a dance of urgency and purpose. Dr. Flynn, ever the innovator, proposes a high-risk strategy to slow the blob's advance.
Utilizing extreme cold may reduce its mobility. We can lower the temperatures in the containment zones. We might buy ourselves enough time to devise a more permanent solution.
The debate is intense, with varied opinions on the best course of action. Risks are weighed against potential rewards, each decision bearing the weight of possible failure. In the end, a consensus forms around a multi-pronged approach: implement Flynn's cooling strategy while reinforcing structural defenses and continuing evacuation efforts. As the meeting concludes, the leaders of Omega disperse with a new sense of purpose. Ahead lies a gauntlet of challenges, each moment critical, each action pivotal. The battle to contain the blob is just beginning, and the eyes of the world, though unaware, are on them. While the Omega facility reels under the crisis of the blob, a contrasting yet equally crucial containment room houses the Thing. Here, in the depths of the facility's cryogenic wing, another team of scientists are not engaged in active research but in a critical review of containment protocols. With non-essential personnel already ordered to evacuate, these remaining scientists are tasked with ensuring that the containment of the Thing, a remnant from a past expedition, remains secured. Dr. Emil Larsen, a veteran in xenobiology, leads this delicate operation. His experienced eyes scan the containment unit's readouts, searching for any sign of deviation.
Stability is our priority. We must ensure nothing adds to the chaos outside these walls.
In the meticulously controlled environment of the cryogenic lab, a sudden and unexpected failure cascades through the system. The facility's focus on containing the blob has unintentionally diverted resources and attention, straining Omega's infrastructure. The environmental controls, crucial for maintaining the delicate balance necessary for the Thing's continued dormancy, falter. As alarms sound, the temperature in the cryogenic container begins to rise, the ice encapsulating the Thing melting rapidly. Dr. Larson and his team work feverishly to stabilize the situation. They attempt manual overrides, desperately trying to re-establish control, but the damage to the system is more severe than they can manage in the moment. As the ice retreats, the Thing begins to stir. Its form, a complex network of fibrous tissues and unknown anatomy, becomes more defined, and with it, signs of life, or something akin to life, emerge. The researchers, their eyes fixed on the containment unit, begin to witness subtle but unsettling changes in its structure. As the Thing awakens fully, its survival instincts kick in. It begins to interact with its environment in ways that are intelligent and terrifying. The Omega facility, already grappling with one disaster, now faces another, possibly even more dangerous. The balance of control shifts, and the true test of their containment capabilities begins. Inside the lab, monitors tracking the Thing's biological metrics flicker with anomalous data. The patterns are irregular, unfamiliar, challenging the very principles of terrestrial biology. Researchers scribble notes, their discussions a mix of scientific jargon and underlying worry, as they struggle to interpret what they're seeing. The Thing appears to be exploring, understanding its confines. Each contact with the containment glass isn't just physical, it's analytical. With each touch, it seems to learn, adapt, and, perhaps, plan. Dr. Larson, sensing the critical nature of every observation, asks Jamal Reed, the chief technician, to maintain watch.
Jamal, I need you to stay here and keep an eye on the containment systems. We can't afford even a minor fluctuation.
Of course, Dr. Larson. I'll monitor everything closely.
Good. Remember, if you see any deviation from the norm on the thermal readings or pressure indicators, I want you to alert us immediately. Use the emergency comms channel. We'll be trying to restore full power to this wing, but we need someone vigilant here at all times.
Understood. I'll keep everything locked and tight here.
And Jamal, this isn't just about following procedures. We're keeping a potentially catastrophic entity contained. It's critical. You stay alert and proactive. No distractions.
You can count on me, sir. I understand the stakes.
Thank you, Jamal. We'll be back as soon as we can. Keep everything running smoothly until then.
As Jamal stands poised, staring intently at the Thing, it appears to be dormant, no longer pulsating with activity. In the quiet solitude of the cryogenic lab, the thermal stability sensor begins to emit an erratic signal, its readings flickering inconsistently, an anomaly Jamal can't ignore. Jamal, who's been keeping a keen watch, investigates further. Unbeknownst to him, the Thing has been observing, learning from every interaction with its environment, and now, it senses an opportunity. The Thing, now fully aware and cunningly intelligent, waits for the perfect moment. As Jamal leans closer to adjust the sensor, the Thing extends a filament-like appendage, thin and almost invisible against the lab's shadows. The appendage makes contact with Jamal's skin, at first just a cold touch that he barely notices. But within seconds, it becomes more assertive, wrapping around his arm with alarming speed and precision. Jamal's struggle is brief, the Thing's assimilation process is horrifyingly efficient. Within moments, his cries are stifled, his body's outline blurring as the Thing integrates his biological matter into its own. The blob, relentless and insatiable, continues its path of destruction. Corridors once bustling with researchers are now eerily silent, blocked by its expanding mass. Essential power lines and communication cables become its unintended prey, causing outages and disrupting the facility's critical systems. Simultaneously, the Thing, wearing the guise of Jamal, moves undetected among the staff. With each calculated move, it sabotages the containment efforts against the blob. Turning valves, misdirecting security teams, and deleting critical data, it sows further confusion and fear. Commander Zhou, determined to regain control, coordinates teams to stem the spread of the blob. But her efforts are unknowingly undermined by the enemy within. Each strategy is compromised, leading her teams into even greater danger. As Omega facility descends deeper into chaos, its once impenetrable walls now seem to close in on those trapped inside. The advanced communication systems, designed to withstand external assaults, falter under the internal onslaught of the blob's corrosive reach and the Thing's calculated sabotage. In the labs and control rooms, the facility's lifeline, the communication network, begins to fail. Teams find themselves isolated, cut off from one another, Each group becomes an island, surrounded by a sea of growing uncertainty and danger. Commander Zhou faces the daunting task of marshalling her forces without the backbone of reliable communication. Each failed attempt to transmit instructions amplifies the desperation, her usual composure tested by the creeping realization of their dire situation. Commander Zhou, her voice rising over the cacophony, commands immediate action.
Evacuate to higher levels. Secure all vital research data. We need to fortify the central hub,
she orders, as personnel scramble to respond. Deep within the command center of Omega, a sudden and inexplicable power outage sends systems into disarray. The facility's normally stable power grid begins to fluctuate wildly. The disguised The Thing uses its deep knowledge of the facility's systems, gained through its assimilation of Jamal, to further disrupt operations. Its sabotage is precise, calculated to maximize the chaos. With the power grid compromised, Omega's automated safety protocols engage. Emergency lights bathe the corridors in an eerie red glow, alarms sound a relentless warning, and doors designed to compartmentalize the threat fail to secure. Particularly critical are the containment areas for the blob, where doors stutter and remain ajar, a grave oversight in the crisis protocol. In the control room, Commander Zhou and Dr. Vostok face a nightmare scenario. The containment failures represent not just a threat to facility security but a potential disaster of unprecedented scale. Quick decisions are vital as they attempt to manually override the failing systems. As the facility teeters on the brink of total chaos, every member of Omega is forced into action. The line between control and catastrophe is thin, and with each passing moment, it threatens to disappear altogether. The battle to regain stability is fraught with peril, as the twin threats of the Blob and the Thing loom larger than ever. In the aftermath of the power outage, the Blob finds its restraints weakened, its prison no longer secure. Slowly, it begins its silent, terrifying escape, seeping through cracks and under doors, its mass growing with every obstacle it absorbs and dissolves. The Blob moves with relentless intent, driven by an insatiable hunger. As it traverses the corridors of Omega, it encounters and consumes both organic and inorganic matter indiscriminately. With each assimilation, it grows not only in physical size but in its potential for destruction. Inside Omega, panic spreads as rapidly as the Blob itself. Staff scramble to evacuate, their faces etched with fear. Every route planned and every move calculated, yet nothing prepares them for the corridors turned into deadly traps by the creeping menace. In a desperate bid for safety, Omega's staff flee through the maze-like corridors, escaping the relentless advance of the Blob. The elevators aren't working and the doors leading up have been sealed from a different location. An engineer among them attempts to bypass the lock, getting nowhere.
This doesn't make any sense. These doors should be open during an evacuation. Why are they sealed?
Can you bypass it? There's got to be a manual override or something.
I'm trying, but it's like they've been locked out remotely. It's like someone wants to keep us here.
Keep trying, Lisa, everyone, stay focused. We need to think, there has to be another way out.
But what if there isn't? What if we're trapped here with that thing?
We need to stay calm. Panicking won't help us think. Lisa, is there another route we can take? What about the service elevators or the secondary stairwells?
I'll check the schematics again, but last I saw, everything was funneling us to this point. It's like we're being herded.
Herded by who? Someone on the inside.
We don't have time for conspiracy theories. Right now, our priority is finding a safe path out of this situation. Keep working on that door, everyone else, with me. We need to check every possible escape route.
Surrounded and desperate, they are forced to retreat to lower floors farther underground, seeking refuge in sealed rooms, anywhere the Blob has not yet reached. Calls for help go out, but with the facility systems compromised, rescue is uncertain. Commander Zhou oversees the evacuation. Her voice, a steady beacon amid the chaos, guides the remaining teams.
Move to lower levels,
She commands, aware that every second counts. As the Blob claims the heart of the facility, its presence becomes an unyielding force of nature within Omega's walls. The battle to contain it seems increasingly futile, and survival becomes the sole focus. In these dire moments, the true mettle of Omega's finest is tested. As the facility descends into darkness and panic, the Thing finds the perfect cover to further its sinister agenda. With the guise of Jamal, it navigates the chaos with calculated precision, seeking out its next victims. The Thing targets those who hold the keys to the facility's operations, security personnel who know the passcodes, scientists with access to critical areas. One by one, it draws them into isolated encounters. Each meeting ends with the Thing absorbing them, their knowledge, and their identities becoming part of its growing arsenal of deception. In the shadows of the maintenance corridors, the assimilation is swift and silent. The Thing not only absorbs their physical form but their memories, their access codes, their very essence, leaving behind no trace of the encounter. Dr. Harrow, turning a corner, witnesses the aftermath of one such assimilation. The chilling sight of Jamal and the discarded belongings of his colleague sparks a terrifying realization: the threat among them is far more insidious than imagined. Secluded in a communication room, Dr. Harrow's mind races as he processes the horror. The implications are grave, not just for the safety of the facility but for all humanity. The Thing is not just surviving, it is strategically eliminating and replacing key personnel, weaving itself into the very fabric of Omega's operations. With trembling hands, Dr. Harrow sends out a broadcast, a desperate warning to anyone who might understand. Trust no one, it says, especially not Jamal. As the looped message fails to broadcasts, Dr. Harrow braces himself, knowing that the Thing might soon come for him, too. The Blob's unyielding expansion continues, now reaching the isolated wings where other experimental subjects are housed. As containment fields fail and doors melt away, a new wave of chaos unfurls. Creatures and biological anomalies, once subjects of controlled study, are unwittingly released into the facility. The breach of the isolation units turns the facility into a nightmarish zoo of terror. Each new threat that emerges acts as a diversion, benefiting the Thing as it continues to assimilate and spread under cover of the tumult. With the facility's command structure in tatters, the remnants of Omega's hierarchy dissolve into chaos. Key personnel are missing, presumed dead. Commander Zhou, once the pillar of security, now faces the daunting task of leading without a command chain, her authority challenged by the sheer scale of the crisis. Amidst the disarray, survivors form makeshift groups, clusters of humanity clinging to the hope of escape or defense. Each group, isolated by broken communication lines, becomes its own microcosm of order within the chaos. In one such enclave, Dr. Flynn emerges as an unlikely leader. Leveraging his deep understanding of xenobiology, he attempts to rally his group with a plan to free sections of the Blob.
We may not be able to stop it entirely, but we can slow it, create a path to safety.
Meanwhile, Dr. Monroe, understanding the psychological toll of their predicament, cultivates a refuge where mental strength is fortified.
Our minds can be our sanctuary or our prison.
She counsels, her voice a calm amidst the storm, encouraging her group to maintain mental discipline and focus. As the facility continues to degrade under the assault of alien horrors, these leaders and their groups represent the last vestiges of organized resistance. Each plan, each action taken, reflects not just a struggle for survival but a profound human need to assert control over chaos. As the facility succumbs to chaos, a critical mission emerges: secure the main control room. It's the heart of Omega, and it houses the environmental controls that could offer a means to halt the Blob's spread. Inside the control room, the tension is palpable. Dr. Flynn watches as technicians and engineers work desperately to stabilize the facility's failing systems. The Thing, exploiting the guise of familiarity, manipulates the crisis from within. With each subtle sabotage, it ensures that no call for help can be made, no environmental countermeasures can be deployed. It is a predator among the panicked, steering its prey towards doom.
This should be working. We're doing everything right. All protocols are being followed to the letter.
What's the status on the environmental controls? Any luck?
It's like we're being blocked at every turn. The system accepts the commands, but then, nothing changes. It's as if something is actively fighting against us.
I've been through every line of code and cross-referenced it with the manual overrides until my eyes went blurry. It just doesn't add up unless someone on the inside had a hand in this mess.
Keep at it. Whatever or whoever is causing this, we can't let it stop us. We need those controls back online to have any chance of containing the Blob.
All right, let's try rerouting the power supply. Maybe if we bypass the mainframe, we can regain some control.
Do it! Anything to slow it down. We're running out of time.
Meanwhile, the Blob makes its own relentless advance towards the control room. Its corrosive mass seeps through every fissure and vent, a creeping doom that threatens to engulf the facility's last bastion of hope. As Commander Zhou and her team enter the control room, they are met with Dr. Flynn's group. Suddenly, the blob breaches the threshold, and the critical systems flicker out of control, manipulated by an unseen hand. In this moment of dire realization, the facility stands on the precipice of total loss, its fate hanging by a thread. As they watch in despair, Commander Zhou's face is set in a grim line as she observes the unstoppable nature of the blob.
Oh God, no!
The Omega facility shudders under the relentless expansion of the blob. Each movement forward is a silent testament to its destructive power. As it rounds a strategic corner within the facility, it encounters an unexpected barrier, a group of personnel lined up as if forming a last stand. The Thing, ever the strategist, has orchestrated this encounter, utilizing its assimilated forms to form a defensive line. These imitations, perfect in every outward detail, stand ready, a deceptive calm before the inevitable storm. Upon contact, the blob extends itself, wrapping its gelatinous mass around the first imitation. The engagement intensifies, the blob seeking to envelop and absorb. The moment of contact spirals into confusion. As the blob attempts to absorb the imitation, it encounters resistance. Unlike the organic and inorganic matter it has consumed before, these forms, crafted by the Thing, do not yield so easily. The mass rides and shifts, a visual struggle as two alien natures clash. As the blob finally subsumes the barrier, overcoming the challenge through sheer force and adaptability, it continues onward, seemingly unfazed. Meanwhile, the Thing, disguised and observing from a safe distance, collects valuable data from this encounter, its plans ever evolving in the shadow of this new understanding. The Thing experiences a rare moment of revelation. The imitations it crafted, while sophisticated in mimicry and deceit, only become absorbed by the touch of the blob. It is a stark demonstration that the blob recognizes only more matter to consume. For the first time, the Thing encounters a boundary to its own predatory nature. It cannot assimilate the blob, it cannot turn this foe into a part of its arsenal. This realization dawns not just as a setback, but as a pivotal moment of vulnerability. Faced with this new reality, the Thing executes a strategic retreat. It recalls its extensions, those remaining unabsorbed, back into itself. Each motion is precise, a retreat not born of fear, but of recalibration. Retreating into the shadows, the Thing moves through Omega's corridors, a specter among specters. Its path is solitary but not aimless. Each step, each observation feeds into a new strategy, a new plan to navigate the complex ecosystem of threats within the facility. In the quiet solitude of its chosen sanctuary, the Thing interfaces with the facility's systems. The screen's glow illuminates its borrowed face, now set with a resolute, if not entirely human, determination. It understands that direct confrontation with the blob is futile. Instead, it turns to Omega's environmental controls, a network it can manipulate with precision. Adjusting temperatures, altering structural supports, each change is a calculated move in its new strategy to contain or cripple its foe. As the titanic struggle between the blob and the Thing unfolds, the human survivors of Omega are caught in the eye of a storm. Here, in the cramped confines of a storage room, a small group of these survivors grapple with their reality, a stark contrast to the alien forces reshaping their world outside. Dr. Morgan and Dr. Chowdhury, specialists in environmental science, quickly realize the unique opportunity amidst the chaos.
If we can redirect the blob using the environmental controls, we might have a chance to reach the evacuation pads.
Dr. Morgan suggests, her voice a mix of hope and urgency. Meanwhile, Officer Daniels, a veteran of crisis situations, takes a more defensive approach. He rallies those capable of fighting, transforming scientific instruments into improvised weapons.
If it comes down to it, we'll make our stand here,
he declares, preparing his team for the possibility of direct confrontation. Taking a calculated risk, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Chowdhury move stealthily towards the control room. Their hands tremble as they adjust the settings, their actions a desperate gamble to turn the facility's own systems into a weapon against the invader. Their clever use of the facility's systems has created a labyrinth of extreme temperatures, turning heat into a weapon that could potentially drive the blob into containment zones. As the survivors watch on the monitors, a small sense of dread fills the room. They see the escape routes cool, creating barriers of frost that hinder not just the blob, but any survivors attempting to flee.
We can't freeze the escape routes. We'll all be trapped in here.
I did not do that.
As the survivors piece together the changing patterns on their monitors, realization dawns: someone, or something, is orchestrating these environmental anomalies. The corridors of Omega no longer just confine. They direct, manipulate, and trap. The Thing leverages its deep understanding of the facility's infrastructure. With calculated precision, it begins to alter the environmental conditions, crafting a more hostile landscape against its unrelenting adversary, the Blob. The Thing orchestrates a drastic drop in temperature in key corridors. As the mercury falls, ice crystallizes along the paths, forming chilling barriers that hinder the Blob's advance. The cold seeps into the Blob, solidifying its outer layers, and stalling its relentless consumption. Simultaneously, the Thing devises a more perilous trap. Utilizing its assimilated forms as sacrificial pawns, it directs them towards the Blob. Each imitation acts under its control, drawing the Blob deeper into the facility, towards areas primed for disaster. The trap is set in one of the facility's older wings, where structural integrity is compromised and hazardous chemicals are stored. As the Blob absorbs the decoys, it triggers an explosive chemical reaction. The resulting blast collapses the ceiling, burying part of the Blob under rubble and halting its advance temporarily. From a distance, the Thing observes the outcome of its intricate planning. The chaos serves its purposes, not just in containing the Blob but also in sowing further confusion among the human survivors. Each move it makes is part of a larger strategy, each action designed to ensure its survival and supremacy within the facility. Despite the cold barriers and the structural traps laid by the Thing, the Blob exhibits a primal and formidable ability to adapt. It absorbs the icy residue and debris around it, using them to fortify its own mass, pushing back against the environmental manipulations designed to hinder its progress. In an eerie display of resilience, the Blob encounters a reservoir of spilled chemicals, substances meant to act as deterrents. But instead of succumbing, it absorbs them, incorporating the chemicals into its matrix. Each new substance it consumes seemingly enhances its corrosive capabilities, making it even more formidable. As the Blob moves forward, it leaves in its wake a trail of destruction, not just physical but chemical. The very materials intended to trap it are now weapons in its arsenal, turning the facility's defenses against themselves. From their vantage points, the survivors watch in horror and awe. The realization that the Blob is not just surviving but thriving on the obstacles they've set reshapes their understanding of the threat.
It's never going to stop.
With each consumption, the Blob grows not only in size but in threat. Now nearing one of the facility's critical control areas, it appears nearly unstoppable. The strategies employed by the Thing and the human survivors seem only to have delayed the inevitable, as the Blob prepares to breach another line of defense. In the shadowy confines of a secured room, the mental fortitude of Omega's survivors begins to fray. The relentless advance of the Blob weaves a tapestry of fear and helplessness among those left to fend for themselves. Dr. Monroe, the psychologist, works tirelessly to bolster the spirits of her fellow survivors. Yet, even her steady voice falters as she confronts the growing fear. Her efforts to maintain calm are heroic, yet the fear has taken root too deeply. Within the dimly lit confines of a makeshift briefing room, a heated debate unfolds among the survivors. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the air is thick with desperation and determination. A young engineer, who had been quiet until now, stands and points to a lesser-known detail on the blueprint.
There's another way. An old maintenance tunnel connects this facility to an external building. If we can reach it, there are ladders to the surface.
The revelation sparks a flicker of hope in some, while others remain unconvinced. Dr. Morgan, weighing the options, sees the potential for escape but remains torn by the responsibility they all share. Officer Daniels, ever the protector, speaks up, his voice cutting through the murmurs.
We can't just run. We have a duty to contain these threats. To ensure what's happened here does not reach the outside world.
The group is divided. One faction rallies behind the young engineer, ready to risk the uncertain path to freedom through the tunnels. The other, under Daniel's command, prepares to fortify and contain, to fight back against the Blob with everything they have. Dr. Morgan joins Officer Daniels, her scientific acumen a crucial asset in their fight to contain. Meanwhile, Dr. Monroe decides to accompany the escapees, her presence a calming influence on those haunted by fear. As the groups part ways, their steps echo down the separate corridors, a poignant reminder of their shared struggles and divergent hopes. In the depths of the Omega facility, the battle lines are drawn, not just against the monsters they face, but within themselves, between the instinct to flee and the courage to fight. Within the nerve center of Omega, the Thing meticulously plots its next strategy. Using its deep integration into the facility's systems, it begins a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Its goal, to lure the Blob into the facility's more precarious zones, where structural weaknesses could become traps. The Thing manipulates the environmental controls with surgical precision. Corridors heat up, drawing the Blob towards them, while others chill to icy temperatures to herd it along a predetermined path. Each turn and corridor is chosen for its potential as a trap. As the Blob advances, the infrastructure groans and buckles under its massive weight. Minor collapses occur, dust and debris clouding its path. The Thing watches from the shadows, assessing the effectiveness of each environmental snare. Meanwhile, the human survivors, led by Officer Daniel, face a dire realization. A vital oxygen supply line runs dangerously close to an area weakened by the Blob's destructive passage. The debate is tense. Dr. Morgan insists on immediate action.
We fix that line, or we risk everything.
Daniels hesitates, wary of the dangers that lurk in every shadow. The Thing, ever the opportunist, observes the human dilemma with cold interest. Each human decision, each frantic repair attempt is data, fueling its relentless strategy. As the facility creaks and moans under the strain of battle, so too does the resolve of those caught within its walls. Dr. Morgan leads a team to a crucial junction where the facility's main oxygen supply line is at risk. The proximity to the Blob makes the situation perilous, with the potential for a catastrophic explosion looming overhead.
Sealing this line now could ignite the residual chemicals we detected in the area. It's too risky.
The engineer protests vehemently. Dr. Morgan, however, remains resolute, her knowledge of the facility's systems giving her a different perspective.
Look, the integrity of this section is already compromised. If we don't seal this line now, the pressure buildup could reach a critical point. That is not a risk, it's a certainty.
But Dr. Morgan, sealing it hastily could create a spark. All those volatile chemicals pooled not far from here. The risk of explosion is too high.
Elena, are you sure there's no other way? Rick's concerns are valid. We're between a rock and a hard place here.
Daniel, I understand the risks. But delay in action could be catastrophic. This isn't just about avoiding immediate danger, it's about preventing a far greater disaster. Trust in I, Daniel. I have calculated every variable.
And if you're wrong?
I'm not wrong about this. We've all faced tough calls before, and you've all trusted my judgment. I need that trust now more than ever.
It's your call, Officer Daniels, but it's on you if this goes sideways.
Officer Daniels faces a dire choice. Trust in the technical expertise of the engineers or follow Dr. Morgan, whose leadership has guided them through crises before. The weight of his decision is enormous, with lives hanging in the balance. Ultimately, Daniels sides with Dr. Morgan, driven by his faith in her judgment. With a decisive nod, he authorizes her to proceed.
All right, Elena, do it. Seal the line.
Thank you, Daniel. Let us get this done.
Dr. Morgan quickly initiates the sealing process, her actions swift and determined, as she manually overrides the system to isolate the endangered line. As Dr. Morgan works, a collective breath is held. The Thing, now fully confident in its understanding of the Blob's behaviors, prepares for the final act of its calculated gambit. It watches, unflinching, as the Blob draws near to the deliberate sacrifice, a part of itself left to lure the monstrous entity into this final trap. In the midst of tense adjustments at the control panel, a sudden explosion tears through the facility. Dr. Morgan's expression remains eerily blank in the face of the blast, revealing a chilling truth. The Dr. Morgan who had been working so diligently was no longer human but an assimilate of the Thing. The explosion is cataclysmic, a massive detonation that starts a chain reaction of collapse throughout the underground facility. As the structure buckles and the Earth begins to swallow Omega, the realization dawns on the survivors.
This is it. Game over, man. Game over.
Inside the maintenance tunnel, the echoes of their hurried footsteps reverberate through the ancient tunnel system, a stark contrast to the quiet dread that had settled over the group. Dr. Monroe leads with a determined pace, her voice steady despite the palpable tension.
We need to move quickly, the ladders are just ahead.
Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, a deep rumbling that speaks of catastrophic events. Dust cascades from the ceiling and walls as Dr. Monroe steadies a younger survivor.
Hurry, we must reach the surface.
Amid the chaos, Dr. Monroe moves to the front, her figure a silhouette against the dim light emanating from the tunnel's exit. She climbs the ladder with an unnerving efficiency. The first survivor catches up and reaches for Dr. Morgan's extended hand, seeking the solid reassurance of human contact. But what meets them is not human. Dr. Morgan's hand transforms before their eyes, morphing into a grotesque abomination of writhing tendrils. In a horrifying display of predatory evolution, the Thing reveals itself in full monstrous form. Each tendril acts with a mind of its own, ensnaring the survivor with chilling efficiency. The screams are muffled quickly, absorbed into the growing horror that Dr. Monroe, now fully the Thing, has become. The other survivors climb faster, unaware of what just took place.
Hold on, we're coming.
But each step they take towards the light brings them closer to the unspeakable truth waiting above. At the summit, the Thing waits with predatory patience, its disguise abandoned in favor of its true, horrific form. As each survivor emerges, seeking the safety of the surface, they step into the grasp of a nightmare made flesh. The tunnel, once a path to salvation, is now a conduit to their doom. Back in the guise of Dr. Monroe, the Thing steps out into the cold Arctic air, the only survivor of the cataclysm that swallowed Omega Facility. With each breath visible in the freezing air, it surveys the barren landscape, a plan forming in its sinister mind. Its destination is an emergency communications outpost, barely visible on the horizon. With each step across the icy tundra, the Thing adapts to its new role, perfecting Dr. Monroe's mannerisms, her speech patterns, her memories, preparing to deceive not just a group of survivors, but an entire world. Once inside the outpost, the Thing quickly activates the communications system, sending out a distress signal coded with urgency and despair.
This is Dr. Monroe, requesting immediate extraction. I am the sole survivor.
It broadcasts, its voice perfectly emulating Monroe's tone of controlled panic. The response is swift. A rescue team from a nearby station, geared up for an emergency extraction, prepares to retrieve the survivor. Unbeknownst to them, their rescue mission is about to introduce an unprecedented threat into their midst. As Dr. Monroe is welcomed into the research station, surrounded by unsuspecting new hosts, her eyes flicker briefly, the only sign of the alien entity lurking within. With access to transportation, technology, and unsuspecting human contacts, the Thing is poised to begin its assimilation on a global scale. In the quiet halls of the research station, a new chapter of horror is poised to unfold. The survival of the Thing in the guise of Dr. Monroe marks not an end, but a terrifying beginning. As it blends seamlessly among humans, the threat of global assimilation becomes a chilling possibility, turning the survival story of one into a survival crisis for all. In the wake of destruction at the Omega Facility, the Arctic silence is profound, broken only by the occasional gust of icy wind. What once was a hub of scientific innovation and hope is now but a graveyard of ambitions, a monument to the dangers of tampering with the unknown. But beneath the stillness, something stirs. Not all secrets of the deep are ready to lie dormant. Deep beneath the layers of destruction, where the light of day fails to penetrate, the blob begins to move. The blob, far from defeated, feeds and grows beneath the ruins. Its mass slowly expands, digesting the very materials meant to entomb it, each absorption a step towards resurgence. Unseen, it prepares to reclaim the world above, its hunger unabated. Meanwhile, far from the desolation of Omega, the Thing walks among us, its assimilation complete, its deception perfect. In the guise of a survivor, it plots its next move, each interaction a potential spread of its sinister influence. As the Arctic resumes its quiet watch, the world remains unaware of the threats that lurk beneath and within. The blob and the Thing, each a herald of chaos and adaptation, continue their silent conquest. What future awaits humanity may hinge on the shadows of these encounters, where the line between life and the abyss grows ever thinner. But why did the AI choose this as the outcome? In direct conflict, the blob proves nearly unstoppable. Its ability to absorb and consume any material allows it to overwhelm the Thing in straightforward combat scenarios. However, its lack of discernible intelligence or strategy limits its effectiveness in more complex environments. Conversely, the Thing exhibits a high degree of intelligence and adaptability. It strategizes, manipulates environments, and uses the forms it assimilates to gain tactical advantages. This intelligence, however, cannot always compensate for the sheer destructive absorption capability of the blob. The AI concluded that neither the Thing nor the Blob could be completely destroyed by the other. However, if the Blob were to consume the entirety of the Earth, the Thing would inevitably lose its bases of operation and opportunities for assimilation. Nonetheless, with the knowledge the Thing has assimilated from humans, it could potentially leave the planet using human technology. As we draw the curtains on tonight's electrifying encounter, we thank you, our viewers, for joining us on this thrilling journey. Your enthusiasm and curiosity fuel our adventures into the realms of horror and mystery. Let us know in the comments which mythical or horror icons you'd like to see go head-to-head. Your suggestion might just be the next epic showdown we simulate here on Scripted by Machines. Stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep those notifications on to never miss an episode of viewer-inspired clashes. Thank you once again for watching Scripted by Machines. Until next time, keep wondering, keep watching, and may your nights be dark and full of terrors.